Hey, this is Gareth and Bruce. This is our first attempt at a podcast.
We just don't know where it's gonna go.
You got more of the gruff voice. I got more of the
Softer feminine voice.
screw you.
Hey.
I don't know, I felt a little snobby when we hit 10 episodes.
Okay, that's an interesting question.
The two of us can be Vin Diesel. Gareth can drive like him. And I can
You
look
can
like
look
him.
Welcome to Spaghetti Junction. My name is Gareth,
My name is Bruce.
and we talk about things. We just don't know
know
where
where
they're
they're
gonna
gonna
go.
Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
I am Gareth.
We talk about things.
We just don't
know where they're gonna go.
So people need to get to know us more, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is now really opening up my heart to a lot of
Oh, no, you're gonna be all vulnerable and stuff.
not extensively. I'm just gonna. I mentioned it to you before, and I want to rehash my feelings on my cheesy movies. But the specific one I told you about, which was a cheesy romantic movie,
Oh boy.
but like really cheesy. And I'm going to use that, I think, from now on as a. Maybe I did already, and it didn't go well. But to like use it as a flag catcher, red or green. You know, like the red. Okay, let me get down to it. You know, as a way, like, you know, like in the middle of the date. You know, so like, what food do you like? What movies do you like? I found if you talk about things like Harry Potter, it's not very good.
Doesn't go too
So
well.
I've stopped saying Harry Potter, even though I do like Harry Potter. So I'll bring in, you know, a conversation of like, okay, romantic movies, like, you know, what's good, what's bad.
Yeah.
Someone like, I don't do romantic movies. Like, oh, okay, I can deal with that. But then I'll share my really cheesiest one. And that's when I know if she stays, she's a keeper, man.
Yeah, if her face lights up and
That's my favorite too. I think, well, I don't know actually if you both like the same one to the extent.
yeah.
But it's probably workable instead of a leave-in.
Yeah.
So I was playing a song and you worked it out. It's you can work it out too, listeners. It's a song called Only Hope by Mandy Moore. And if you're hearing the name Mandy Moore, either you know who she is and you know what cheese I'm talking about, or Mandy Moore is actually in a series right now, which is about the 5th or 6th season.
What series is it?
I don't know. It's all based around a family and emotions, and you'll really love it because it's got emotions in it. So
I'll be touching that with a 10-foot
you'll be going through 6 seasons of emotion stuff. Emotional damage. Yeah, exactly. No, but it's doing really, really well. It's like, I don't know what its name is, but it's doing well for itself because, you know, it's a feel good, raw, emotional. Now, you promised me that you weren't going to be looking at the screen because now you've got two things going on now. You're looking at it again.
Sorry, dude.
It's like a flashback to our previous episode at almost the same time. So maybe I should wait until this period, let you watch, and then...
I'm just making sure things are cool, man. That's all.
This is cool, bro.
I am the producer, after all. You know, this is my job to make sure that this stuff is
And who's the director?
probably you.
I didn't say that. It was an open question.
Well,
I'm the editor. And together we can be directors.
I would see you more as the director, though. Yeah, I would.
Wow. Is this getting emotional?
No, not at all.
I'm the editor, and that's okay. So the point was, Mandy Moore was in one of her only, this movie was a big one. It's called, what's it called again?
Oh, my soul. It's like your favorite friggin' romantic movie.
A Walk to Remember.
A Walk to Remember.
So this is where you either, don't leave the podcast. Don't unsubscribe, okay? Bruce has more non-emotional movies and stuff to go for, so
I'll balance it out.
he'll balance it out really, really well. I don't know. It is cheese, okay? I won't lie, it is cheese. I mean, if you haven't watched it, then you probably don't ever want to watch it, because normally the people who have watched it are like, you know, that's cool, but the other, but like,
Yeah.
but it's basically about this guy who's like the jock and the rebel guy and
The town bad boy.
the town bad boy. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, skip ahead like another 2 or 3 minutes because I'm going to tell the whole plot. So if you do really want to watch it,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, I'm spoiling it because I watched it. I think I watched it about 5 or 6 times, maybe.
You'll see.
Well, you watched one of yours about.
I know. We're
Let's
allowed to
get
have
to
our
yours after my
guilty-
one because actually isn't
Oh.
that
Hey, no, we
it's
didn't-
slightly what?
We never discussed. We never discussed. Okay, we're going to both discuss our guilty pleasures when it comes to romantic
okay, fine.
movies.
Okay.
So
But you do say that you might have one.
there are one.
It's
or two.
possible.
There are one or two.
Okay, see, we are both slightly emotional. So, anyways, it's about this guy who's the rebel, the town rebel, and he goes with a bunch of his friends, bringing in a guy from school who they see as like a loser, but they're pretending, like he's part of the crew, and they trick him to dive off, into a pool, and the guy actually ends up, I believe he ended up paralyzed,
Okay.
and which is bad. And what happens then is that now this bad boy now gets the one of the things which happens to him is he gets put into this theater group in school
As part of his
as part of his
community service.
community service
Okay, right, I
sentencing
get you.
school,
Yeah.
somewhere interlinked with that.
Okay.
So so he has to be in there,
Yeah.
because he has to find himself more or something like that.
Mm.
And maybe it is bad, So, anyways, he has to sit through theatre, and this is when he meets this girl, Mandy Moore,
Mm-hmm.
and the long and the short of it, she hates him. Well, not hates him. She doesn't like him because he's not her style, and he's a bad boy, and he's like totally opposite to who she is. She's a religious person, who believes only in the sweeter things in life. Let's just say, in the more happier, less naughty things in life.
Yes, because she's such a good girl.
She is.
Oh.
No, she is. She is. Shame, man. She is. And she sings this song actually, in the actual play, and that's when that's when the emotions flood in for this bad boy, and all of a sudden he's noticed this girl, and ting, 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 ting,
She's
ting,
the one that can tame him.
like this is it. And no, he didn't say that. You look. Let's not go into the movies what you're watching, because Anyways, the point being, and then along the line, he finds out that she's sick, and that she's actually dying.
Put a dampener on anybody's day.
And he gets angry because like why didn't you tell me? And
Exactly.
and,
Honesty.
why didn't you tell me? Because this is it'll change things. And she said to him, "I told you before not to fall in love with me."
But she got to the bad boy. Just like.
It's not bad. Yeah, and then but he does a bunch of things on her list before she dies. And the last thing there's two things that happen which are on her list. The one is that she wants to be in 2 states at once. Standing in 2 states at once.
Oh, those types of states. Okay, cool. Just checking.
Mental states.
Well, yeah.
States, sorry.
Multiple
2 states in
Yeah,
America.
Right.
So then he takes her to where there's a border
Aww.
and stands on both sides, and they tick the box though. Keep it in, buddy. Keep it in. This is emotional. And then the last thing was that she wanted to get married. So she marries him. No, and he makes her a telescope. A whole bunch on her list. He just manages to.
So he
tick
does
off.
all this stuff for her and then she dies. It's like, damn.
Yeah, but he knew that was going to come though. That's the thing.
And he still did it.
Yeah, he even married her.
It's like simping on another
And
level.
I think like a month or 2 later, then she passes away. But the cheesiest line, if you thought that was cheese, the This is a song. Actually, this is a line that's used quite a lot. Like when people have asked you about, about where's God, and this line is sometimes used. So he speaks about, his love for her, and that even when she's gone, he says, I can't remember her name. I should, she's like the wind. I can't see her, but I can feel her. And then fade away.
I really appreciate you actually talking about this movie, because it is just it. Thank you. You've just reminded me never ever to watch it, because I have actually seen A Walk to Remember, but thank goodness it was long enough ago.
You saw it?
I did see it.
Okay, you don't remember.
But it was long enough ago that I remember almost nothing about it.
Well, now I've told you all about it.
And I don't want to remember it.
I don't remember that walk at all.
No, that's a walk I do not want to remember. Thank you very much. So, don't. No.
Oh, so there it is. That's my vulnerable moment.
Wow.
And yes, I will watch it again. Ah, lovely.
On a completely different note.
So I know it's completely different, but I think everyone's used to it. We just, and then we go completely opposite side. So as you would have read on our, on what episode 80? What did we say? It's 88. Yeah. 88.
Yes.
Episode 88. Almost on 90 people. And in fact, next month there's a really big thing happening. So I'll let you know. So 88. And you'll see in the topic is that we're going to talk about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And also along the line, what is cultural appreciation?
Yeah.
And by the way, Bruce is wearing his glasses for one of the first times, which is quite beautiful.
I need to see the computer and I need to see my notes.
Yeah, so
I'm done with trying.
No, exactly. Just embrace it.
Oh, yeah.
So cultural appropriation was an idea, that came up. And basically, cultural, or let's just say, first of all, appropriation. It refers to taking something that doesn't belong to you or your culture. So in the case of cultural appropriation, which is what we're doing now, it is an exchange that happens when the dominant group takes or borrows something from a minority group, and that has been historically exploited or oppressed. That's one definition. I don't agree with some of that, but this is why we're doing it.
Okay. Would one of the questions I have is, it just seemed to, from everything that I looked at, it seems to be predominantly something that white demographics over the years have done to
I've really thought
cultures
about that, but
cultures that they have then colonized. Whether we talk about the British, or white Europeans going to America, coming to Africa, colonizing all of that. It seems to be.
I actually haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. For me, it definitely seems to be a predominantly white thing. Although there are instances of cultural, of what you call non-white cultures being guilty of the same thing.
Yes. But I think your point has validity to it.
I think when
there is a race thing to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when nowadays when you say the words cultural appropriation, I think the knee-jerk reaction is white taking from others. Sure. And not people's first reaction isn't Asian people adopting black culture, or black people adopting Indian American culture. It always seems to be more a white.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what I've.
No, I think it's valid. I think it's valid. I mean, I haven't really thought about that, but the more examples which I've been reading, they seem to be.
There's kind of there's a common theme.
It seems to be in there.
And that common theme is white people.
Damn you!
I also had a little bit of a laugh, and I had the idea of is it okay for you and I, as white guys, to be sitting here discussing cultural appropriation?
Well, it's probably healthy, actually.
Probably, because we're two of the whitest white guys who have ever whited in the history of whiteness.
Hey, I listen to rap music, okay? I think I have one up on you. Although that could be called... No,
Exactly. So, this
Be
is,
careful.
it's a it's a
Potato.
slippery slope. But I'm just saying, is it okay for two white people to be discussing
I think it
cultural
is.
appropriation?
Yes, because because we are discussing the white people who may have been involved in cultural appropriation. So we have an affinity, if we like it or not.
Not an affinity to cultural appropriation, though.
No, to the white people. If you want to run with the race thing.
That's it.
Good. Anyways, I want to bring in what really, got me thinking, and this has been I realize, it's been on my radar off and on for a long time. This story was a bigger story. This is like a few years ago. And I know it's not relevant right now, but there are stories happening like all the time. So this is not like it happened years ago. But this is the one that really made me think. It made this cultural appropriation thing more aware for me. Because you know what, I think at times we don't always see what. Okay, and let's not say we. So sometimes I'm not aware of exactly, all the time of what's happening in the media and and what's happening. So
myself as well.
Sometimes we miss it all. So this happened in America. They have a thing called a prom dance, which is the end of year dance. We had a matric dance, which is the grade 12 dance. It's basically at the end of your school year when you're finishing the year. It's the
Senior prom.
Senior people. Yeah, exactly. So this girl, Kezia Dorm, I think is her name.
I think you pronounce it Kezia.
Kezia, we'll take that. Kezia Dorm. She basically, was going to the prom, and she needed a dress. So she went to this little, almost like a second-hand kind of store, and she found a dress which was from the Chinese culture. I had the name of the dress, but I'm going to say it wrong. And that'll be, in the context of what we're doing, is probably not the right way of doing it.
Because someone's going to get there.
No, they won't, because I'm not saying it.
Okay, cool.
But it's spelled Qipao, which is basically a high-collared, form-fitting Chinese dress.
Right, yes.
Okay. Red, and so she went to a prom with it, just because she liked it. She liked the size, she liked the shape, it worked for her body, and she thought it was a beautiful dress. And she was aware it's a beautiful Chinese dress. Beautiful.
Yeah, she looked pretty.
She did.
Yeah.
As these photos show you.
Yeah.
I thought she looked great. And from that, when she posted her photo online, one person, I went... So one person found it, and it got retweeted 412,000 times, if I'm correct.
Yes.
It was about 412,000.
That's crazy.
And from that tweet, because he basically went to town on her and just basically said it is cultural appropriation,
right.
and she shouldn't have been doing that, and she did it, and he just nailed into it, and that then obviously, when it's retweeted so many times, it just got a plethora of so many people just jumping on her. Now, bear in mind, she's 17. She's a kid. She liked this dress. She didn't do anything bad with it. You know, she wore it. It looked good, and she's 17. Meaning that she's still a kid. And her parents actually had to get her off any form of social media because of the hate that came on her because she happened to be wearing a dress that was not in her culture. And that got my thoughts spinning. Like for example, someone said, you just don't wear it if you are not Chinese. It's not something to play dress up with. Someone else said, this is not okay. I wouldn't wear traditional Korean, Japanese, or other traditional dress, and I'm Asian. I wouldn't wear traditional Irish or Swedish or Greek dress either. There's a lot of history behind these clothes. And that there was a few things happening kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she her approach was, you know, that she liked it, she saw it, it was a beautiful dress, she knew it, you know, she knew it was Chinese.
Yes.
And she embraced it. It's beautiful. So that kind of got my head, my mind, my brain actually, funny enough, my brain is
Just
over and
started
over,
tuning.
like was she right in doing it? Was she wrong in doing it? There was one thing that she did that I believe was wrong, where her and a bunch of friends, you know, for one of their photos,
They posed in a specific
posed
way.
with sorry guys, they posed with their hands like a prayer.
Oh, okay. Because
Because you know she's wearing a Chinese outfit.
Right.
They didn't think the freaking kids.
Yeah.
And that got like guys like you know, the dress part we can understand, but the hands, because that actually is a faux pas. That you can look at. You know, sure they were having fun, and they said no, we just saw it on social media. Okay, so because it's on social media, it makes it right.
Yeah.
So that was a mistake. But the beginning of it all, which got me thinking of cultural appropriation for the dress, was she wrong? Were the haters right? And this is kind of why we're here.
I do. I think there were quite a few sort of people of Asian culture who did sort of who were positive about it and did. They didn't
correct.
really feel like she wasn't doing anything great, doing anything
wrong. And they
or
said
anything.
that she looks nice, and they're making their culture look beautiful.
Yeah, they felt it was more of a positive statement than anything else.
There was a mix and match. Yeah.
But you're gonna get. Yeah.
But the high percentage, unfortunately, were haters.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't. Maybe it was you who told me, or I watched it in a movie. But they are called keyboard warriors.
Oh yes,
Where
yeah.
the guys
I
just
mentioned
sit,
it. Yeah.
You mentioned it to me, and they just sit, and they're also brave, and they'll fight behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
Bring them outside into the light.
I think we also we live more than ever before. We live in an outrage culture where people feel they have a right to just be outraged.
Yeah.
And they can pick on anything that they want, and they can choose whether they want to be offended by it, and they can just go for it. And you know, and then like I'd be interested to ask some of those people, like, are you really outraged about this? Like, really think about this?
Yeah.
Or are you just, I don't know, are you just getting on the bandwagon, or all that kind of thing?
I think one or two views, you know, comments were actually interesting. They made me rethink this whole thing. They were talking about, and I think we can use it across the board with cultural appropriation. Do we actually? Okay, for example, did she know the background to that dress? What happened prior in the history of China that this dress came into being? What is the background? You know, was it good? Was it bad? You know, like there's a lot of history.
Yeah.
And sorry guys, I didn't have time to actually look into it, but there is history tied within that dress.
Okay.
So someone from another culture wears that without an understanding of that dress that happened in that culture. That could be part, I believe it is part of why there could have been an uproar about it. I agree with you. I think the majority were just angry people looking to get angry, and then they jumped upon one troll. But we should never take away. We should never look at a whole group and not actually looking deeper, like, is there actually some truth behind it? Because I believe that a portion of the people, they had some relevant points.
Yeah.
The anger on top of it was not helping.
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
But there are relevant things to a culture that we're not part of that culture. And if we're going to get involved in that culture, it's good to understand their history and
Yeah.
what's happening before we grab hold of it. And
Yeah, but like you were saying, I mean, she just thought it was a pretty dress.
exactly.
She didn't. Her immediate reaction was, "That's a really pretty dress, but I think I'm gonna go and research and just make sure that I'm doing that I'm gonna be doing this right." That didn't cross her mind,
No, well, that's the thing.
and which is and so how much of that is actually her fault, and
I'm
how
with
much
you.
of it isn't, that kind of thing.
I think, and I'm with you on this because we've got a whole extra things here which we need to get through. But I'm with you. I think she did an honest, if you want to call it a mistake, fine. She just honestly saw it. She liked it. She didn't think past that.
She wasn't overthinking it. She really just was a 17-year-old girl looking and found a pretty dress.
Yes.
That's literally what it is.
Yes, exactly. But what cultural appropriation is saying, okay, understood, but I'm with you. But I think that there's an underlying thing saying, okay, so what she did, was a mistake. But we should never forget the fact that there is a cultural side to it, and maybe from that there was more an awareness behind that kind of thing, and that's kind of where I'm hoping that we'll get an understanding from both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, for example, some types, for example, of cultural appropriation. I've got 4 which I found online.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty. I think you said there's like 4 main.
This is what I've been reading up on. It might not be the same 4 on another, written paper, but this is what I found. So they're called exchange, dominant, exploitation, and transculturation.
Right.
So exchange is this form is defined as a reciprocal exchange between 2 cultures that are approximately equal in terms of power and dominance. How does this make a cultural appropriation? Does that make any sense?
Because that would
Explain this to me.
That sounds like it would be two cultures that kind of get on, and one isn't trying to dominate the other.
Now,
and there's a mutual, like you said, a mutual exchange of ideas, maybe.
so is this more like a cultural appreciation?
Maybe that sounds like more of a cultural
This is
appreciation.
not appropriation. Sorry, guys. This is what I took, and maybe this is meant to be. It says cultural appropriation. There's another one, the exploitation.
That's cultural.
This type is defined as taking cultural elements of a subordinate culture without compensation, permission, or reciprocity.
That
is one of the 4. That one, yes. Carry on.
That's definitely more
So
on the appropriation
that's a definite one. Okay. Another one would be dominance. This type involves a dominant culture taking elements of a subordinate culture that has a dominant culture forced upon it, which we had that whole conversation about earlier.
That I would say is probably the most obvious.
Yes.
The most obvious thing, and we've seen that all through history.
Yes, exactly.
And then what was the
fourth one? Okay, so the fourth one. Sorry, the first one I didn't understand it, but because that's reciprocal. So let's just leave that one alone.
That's an appreciation, I think, more than appropriation.
Yeah, well, I agree with you because this written thing didn't. Anyways, let's move on. Let's move on. The last one is transculturation, which this form involves taking and combining elements of multiple cultures, making it difficult to identify and credit the original source.
So
it's a blend.
Yeah,
it's a melting pot of them all.
And I can understand how that could be very negative, because what that ends up is a watering down.
That was exactly the word I was looking for.
Of a certain culture.
To watering down.
And then that sort of heritage, and over time that heritage can actually disappear. Yeah. So that's
Exactly.
Okay.
You want to shoot? I have a few more things in my head, but please take the road there.
What I did find is yeah, I did ask right at the beginning, is this whole cultural appropriation thing mainly a white thing? But what we have also seen is different white cultures
Yeah.
culturally appropriating from other white cultures.
Yeah.
If you think about like the British and the Scottish, when Scotland was ruled, by the I think it still is, but they would take a lot of, or the Irish, they took a lot of the dress type of examples, that the tartan, the tweed, all of that stuff, and they would adopt it for
As
the
cultural appropriation,
and it is sort of very much by the higher sort of elite British classes, and then the Americans then took that on because they wanted to be associated with the British elites. So you get all of those cultures are not just being taken over by the British, but now being taken over by the Americans, and that kind of thing. And you could probably go back to something like the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
I mean, the Romans were white Europeans, and Julius Caesar conquered half the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of those cultures were also white. They were
Yes.
also part of Europe. But look at what they had to they had to deal with the Roman Empire and give up some of their cultures, even though they were of the same race.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
There was another story, and this happened, I think it's last year, and it was about a white student who went to school with cornrows, and that also created an issue as well, because it was seen as an appropriation of the Black American, the African American culture,
Right.
because so there was a big issue with that, and he just came to school because he thought
Thought it was cool.
it looked cool.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was doing anything wrong. I think the understanding of the person who gave him the hairstyle, what you were saying with the original story, she didn't think anything was wrong. The problem is she didn't think, or the person. So with this particular story, with this student, whoever did the hairstyle for that person, they didn't think, as to where that original style comes from,
Yeah.
and what the background may be with that style, and is this a form of cultural appropriation?
I would be interested, the person who did the hairstyle,
Yeah,
were they black or were they white?
I would
wonder.
imagine they were white. And because they're black, from what this is, an African American probably would not
wouldn't have.
give a white person cornrows because it's part of their culture and
They
not the
would have
white
said
person's
no.
culture. Yeah.
Right.
No.
Okay.
No.
What's very interesting, I was thinking about this a lot. I had this was years ago now, but I had a white friend, and he had dreadlocks, fantastic dreadlocks. But he was that kind of guy. He was that kind of personality. It was just like, it was so normal for him to have it.
Yeah.
Because he was just completely he wasn't trying to be anyone different. He had just decided that he wanted to grow dreadlocks, and they suited him so well.
Worked.
But they were blonde dreadlocks.
Blonde dreadlocks.
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
And by the way, ended up marrying a black girl. So, but they just suited his personality, and no one had an issue with it. He had a friend of his, which became a good friend of mine, black guy living on the property. He didn't have a problem with it, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, because back then, this whole thing of cultural appropriation it wasn't really a thing. There was no social media.
I would imagine. Yeah, exactly.
Mate, I don't know if he got flack. I wasn't around if he ever got flack for it. But he had them for quite a while, so I don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like many people were sort of forcing him to cut his hair. He eventually did.
Yeah.
I think he kind of got more into the corporate world and stuff. I don't think dreadlocks fly in the corporate world. But anyway, it was just interesting. You think he's one of two white people in general, not just guys or girls, that have been able to pull off dreadlocks and actually in a cool way.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine the people around that person, who would know him, I would imagine that he wouldn't have gotten flack from the people around him.
No.
Now, a wider scope possibility.
Yeah, in this day and age, he probably would catch.
But as you say, social media, it's gotten so big that one tweet can just cause absolute mayhem.
Yeah. There was one. I remember there was a younger TV presenter on one of these teen shows.
Yeah.
And he was a white guy and he was ginger, and he had red hair. And he was in dreadlocks. But the thing is, he would go further. He would talk with a Jamaican accent and everything. He had sort of completely gone into that. I don't know. Was that maybe cultural appropriation? Possibly. And this was back in the early 90s.
I would probably, if you're still, I would say it's very close.
Yeah.
If you're going to try and talk like them and be like that, just be yourself.
Yeah,
try and do their whole accent and everything.
I think he was trying to embody the whole like Rasta Jamaican thing.
I think he's trying too hard. No, really.
Possibly.
Just be yourself, and then like one day you end up with a whole new accent.
Yeah,
it's really not yours to take, kind of thing. A question on as to why it's a problem. Because cultural appropriation causes harm because it contributes to ongoing. Now, this is the one view. It contributes to ongoing oppression and exploitation of other cultures, which is kind of what we've been saying.
Right.
People who appropriate cultural elements. Okay, so for example, it might not, it might be jewelry. It might be like I showed you a picture of Adele.
Right.
Yeah, the one up there. And she went with the Jamaican outfit, and then another. I can't remember what hairstyle from what culture it came from, but her hairstyle was from another culture.
Okay.
And sure, it was a mistake. But the thing is, when you're in the public eye like she is, I think it's just a thing like. Like I like the hairstyle, I like the hairstyle. I want to get it. What this whole cultural appropriation is really saying is just think a little bit further.
Yeah.
If you're wearing something that's not part of your culture, if you're buying something that's not part of your culture, it's not a bad thing.
No.
I think it's just being relevant and saying, just think a little bit extra.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful dress. It's a beautiful jewelry. Like, for example, here's a good like a relatable one for me. Okay, so yes, so I'm going to New Zealand, and they have some amazing tattoos.
Yes.
Now I've seen many people wearing tribal tattoos, and within the tribal tattoos there are Maori tattoos.
Yeah.
So, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with somebody from from any other country, or even in New Zealand, okay, who doesn't understand the Maori culture.
Yeah.
So when you're buying into, okay, I'd like that Maori tattoo on me. That to me, that is cultural appropriation, or you can say cultural misunderstanding.
Right.
Not misunderstanding, but cultural appropriation in the sense of like, do you know anything about that tattoo? Do you know the background? Do you know how that was even made? Do you know the history behind that tattoo?
Yeah.
Do you know the Maori culture?
Yeah.
No. So if I was ever going to get a Maori tattoo, which I may never do, it would have to be done within the Maori culture.
Yeah.
I would never go to a store and say, I want that one on me. To me, that is cultural appropriation at a high level.
Yeah.
So what this whole thing is saying, just put a little bit of thinking before you wear something, before you do your hair like something, before you do a tattoo, before you wear jewelry. It's not saying you're a bad person. Like, don't take our culture. It's being understanding. Just think a little bit further.
Yeah.
And that will get you a lot more points than just wearing something. even like food, for example, or dance. Well, one of the big issues with sorry, I know we are wrapping up. Sorry, we're wrapping up here. Within TikTok, there was a lot of issues because a lot of dances that were made from other cultures were being morphed and like squeezed into a TikTok dance.
Right. Okay.
You know, food, for example, that somebody was, had made, but they had mixed their American culture with someone else's culture, and they hadn't given credit to the other person's culture. It's just being aware of other people around you. That's really what it is.
I think so. Yeah. That was an interesting chat. A little bit longer than normal, but there was a lot of stuff that needed to be said.
There's a lot, and I can tell you I have a whole pile
we could
more.
go more
So I have another page or two.
Maybe we'll keep an eye on this. Maybe we'll do a part 2 sometime.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, let us know, guys, if you want that.
Cool.
But yeah, hopefully, it's
Hope you enjoyed this
and you've learned something new.
Yeah.
Engage
with us in the comments. Comment, subscribe.
Do all that you do.
And we'll catch you guys.
Thank you guys for being with us.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Goodbye.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers, bye.